Patch 8 is bringing 12 brand new subclasses to Baldur's Gate 3, and these aren't just mechanical options. Each one comes packed with rich Dungeons & Dragons lore, unique philosophies, and iconic archetypes that go way beyond what's on your character sheet. From Hexblade Warlocks who made pacts with sentient weapons, to Swashbuckler Rogues who treat combat like a performance, to Drunken Master Monks who turn chaos into a martial art. These subclasses have stories to tell. In this video, we're diving deep into the D&D origins and lore behind all 12 new subclasses coming in Patch 8, and what makes each one special. Let's get into it. Let's start with the College of Glamour, one of the most enchanting and deceptive bardic traditions in Dungeons & Dragons. In the lore, members of this college are bards who have mastered the songs and stories of the Feywild, a realm of raw emotion, chaotic beauty, and ancient magic. Unlike the material world, the Feywild doesn't follow the same rules of time or logic. It's a mirror of the Prime Plane, but distorted, more vivid, more dangerous, and filled with creatures who live and breathe magic, such as Eladrin, Satyrs, and Archfey. It's in this realm, or under the tutelage of its Fey denizens, that Glamour bards learn their craft. And the result? They are considered among the most wondrous and awe-inspiring performers in the realms. Their presence alone evokes joy, wonder, and a touch of fear, the same feeling you might get from watching something beautiful that could also kill you. Some Glamour bards use this power to uplift and inspire. Others, to manipulate. Their performances are legendary, not just art, but acts of persuasion that can alter the hearts of kings or rally a crowd to rebellion. Culturally, the College of Glamour reflects the duality of the Feywild itself. The exalted among them tell heroic tales that bring hope to the downtrodden. But the more dangerous ones? They use their charm to twist minds, seducing innocents into doing their bidding, often without realizing it. And then there are their abilities. Glamour bards learn to radiate a wondrous appearance, a magical aura so captivating it can heal allies, charm enemies, or even compel obedience like a noble commanding their court. As they grow stronger, their beauty becomes near supernatural, inspiring devotion or dread in all who witness them. To face one of these bards in battle is to hesitate, not because they're threatening, but because some primal part of you doesn't want to anger something that divine. In short, the College of Glamour isn't just about performance, it's about presence. And in the hands of a master, that presence can change the course of history. The Path of the Giant isn't just about size or strength, it's about tapping into a lineage that stretches back to the dawn of the multiverse. Long before the rise of elves, dwarves, or even dragons, there was Anam, the All-Father, a primordial deity said to be born of both law and chaos. Some myths claim he shaped worlds and gods with his dreams. Others say he walked the planes, creating entire realities on a whim. Whatever the truth, one thing is clear. Anam came to Toril before nearly any other god, and from his union with the mountain goddess Athea, the first giants were born. He gave them a kingdom, Astoria, and a divine structure known as the Ordning, a sacred hierarchy that determined their place in the world. Anam's giants were meant to rule the material plane, but war, betrayal, and time reduced them to scattered clans and fractured power. The dream of Astoria faded, but its legacy remains. As a barbarian on the Path of the Giant, you awaken that legacy. You channel the same primordial magic that once fueled the rulers of a lost age. Your body swells with power. Your rage is more than fury. It's a connection to the elemental forces of stone, storm, and fire. You're not just a tank, you're a living siege engine. You can hurl allies across the battlefield, smash enemies with oversized weapons, and even imbue your strikes with elemental fury. You're a frontline guardian and a force of nature, turning the tide of battle, not just with brute strength, but with mythic presence. And when you rage, you're not just embracing chaos, you're echoing the will of the giants, who were once meant to rule the world. The Death Domain isn't about mourning or peaceful endings, it's about power, raw, inevitable, and often terrifying. In Dungeons & Dragons, death isn't ruled by a single god. It's too vast, too final for one being to control. Instead, death has been passed down, fractured into pieces: war, disease, murder, judgment. Each claimed by different gods, each a shard of the cycle. But it all started with one: Jurgal, the Lord of the End of Everything. For eons, Jurgal presided over death with cold, quiet purpose. But eventually, he grew tired. And when the ambitious young gods Bane, Baal, and Myrkul challenged him, Jergal didn't fight. He bargained. He let them take the portfolio of death, not to reward them, but to free himself from its burden. Myrkul took the crown of death, becoming its face. Baal seized the murder in it, and eventually Kelemvor inherited the duty of judgment, bringing fairness and balance to the souls of the dead. But no matter which god holds the mantle, the truth remains. Death always finds a priest. Clerics of the Death Domain don't worship death from a distance. They wield it. They are enforcers of the inevitable, divine agents of entropy, who see death not as an end, but as a tool. Mechanically, Death Domain clerics are aggressive, offensive spellcasters. Their domain spells include Animate Dead, Vampiric Touch, Blight, and Cloudkill, powers that rot, drain, and raise corpses in their wake. Their Touch of Death ability empowers weapon strikes with necrotic energy, making them deadly in melee as well as at range. They walk the battlefield like avatars of decay, not there to comfort the dying, but to ensure they stay dead or rise in service. Whether they serve Myrkul, Baal, Kelemvor, or even obscure gods of undeath, Death Domain clerics remind us of a chilling truth. Even gods can die. And those who worship death, they serve something far more permanent than divinity. The Circle of Stars is one of the most mystical and ancient druidic orders in the Forgotten Realms. But to understand their origin, we need to look to a place not deep in the forest, but beneath the stars. The Dalelands. The Dalelands are a region on the edge of the great Cormanthor Forest, a place where ancient elves once ruled, and where humans and elves made a pact to coexist. It was here, under the open sky and sacred trees, that druids first began studying the night, not just the natural world, but the cosmos above it. These were the druids of the Circle of Stars, mystics who believed that the stars held divine knowledge and that their movement across the sky revealed truths about the multiverse. They watched constellations rise and fall, recorded celestial omens, and carved their findings into ancient stones and underground temples. Their magic doesn't just come from the earth, it comes from the heavens. Druids of this circle craft star charts inscribed with the secrets of the night sky, on scrolls, crystals, or even arrays of glass discs. These charts act as divine foci, letting them channel magic tied to the stars. Through their studies, they gain guidance, power, and the ability to glimpse cosmic truths. And when they transform, it's not into a beast of the forest, it's into the stars themselves. These druids can take on the form of constellations, glowing with celestial energy, their joints marked by shimmering motes of light. Whether they become the archer, the chalice, or the dragon, each form brings with it powerful effects, radiant bolts, protective, healing, or overwhelming force. As they grow in power, they can shift between constellation forms rapidly and even become incorporeal, like living starlight. Their connection to the cosmos deepens, letting them read the stars in real time, using their insight to empower allies or twist fate against their enemies. The Circle of Stars didn't just commune with nature, they communed with existence itself. And though their circle eventually faded into legend, their legacy still shines in the night sky, waiting to be read by those who dare look up and understand. The Oath of the Crown isn't about personal glory or divine vengeance. It's about duty to a kingdom, a code, or a higher cause that holds civilization together. Paladins who swear this oath dedicate themselves to the ideals of law, justice, and order. Whether they serve a sovereign, a nation, or a god of rulership, these paladins become the shield of society, the silent sentinels standing between the world and chaos. They are the watchmen at the gates, the loyal knights who fight not for themselves, but for the idea of a just and stable world. In most cases, crowned paladins are part of a knightly order, sworn into service through ritual and sacred vow. To them, their word is not just a promise, it's law. Their tenets are simple but absolute. Law, the backbone of civilization. Loyalty, to their oath, their people, and their honor. Courage, to face overwhelming odds in the name of duty. And responsibility, to own the consequences of their actions, no matter the cost. These paladins don't just serve a throne, they serve the very idea of the throne. Mechanically, the Oath of the Crown offers tools that emphasize control, protection, and support. Their divine spells include Command, Compelled Duel, Guardian of Faith, and Zone of Truth, enforcing peace, binding enemies, and protecting their allies. With Warding Bond, they can share in the suffering of another. taking on damage to shield a comrade. And with Circle of Power or Geese, they can dominate the battlefield or bind an Oathbreaker to divine will. Paladins of the Crown are not reckless champions. They are tacticians, protectors, and judges. In war, they lead. In peace, they uphold. And in every moment, they stand as a symbol of structure, of what civilization is when guided by discipline and justice. To swear this oath is to become more than a warrior. It is to become the law made flesh. The Arcane Archer is where precision meets power, a fusion of elven archery and arcane spellcraft. This martial tradition began in the ancient elven kingdoms, where a select group of warriors learned to weave magic into their arrows. These weren't simple rangers or battle mages, they were guardians of the realm. Standing watch on the borders of elven lands, arcane archers struck down threats before they could ever cross into sacred ground. Over time, their techniques spread beyond the elven races. Some humans, half-elves, and even gnomes took up the path, blending their natural talent for archery with just enough arcane knowledge to shape their arrows into something far deadlier than steel alone. Becoming an arcane archer means studying the magical weave itself. At 3rd level, you don't just learn to shoot, you learn to cast. A little cantrip here, a bit of arcane or natural lore there, and suddenly, your arrows start doing things they were never meant to do. Your shots might seek out enemies hiding behind cover. They might explode with elemental energy, disorient with illusion, or pierce magical defenses that stop lesser weapons cold. In battle, an arcane archer doesn't fire blindly. Every arrow is deliberate. Every shot is calculated, an act of martial spellcraft. Mechanically, arcane archers gain limited use of arcane shot, imbuing arrows with effects like banishing arrow, bursting arrow, or grasping arrow. Magical enhancements that twist the battlefield in your favor. You're still a fighter, still dangerous with a bow on its own, but now your toolkit is infused with controlled magical devastation. While they don't cast spells like a wizard or druid, arcane archers learn just enough to channel power, turning a longbow into a conduit for pure arcane force. To train in this path is to walk the razor's edge between the arcane and the martial, to be both hunter and spellcaster, to be a whisper on the wind and the last thing your enemies see. The Way of the Drunken Master is a monastic tradition that looks nothing like traditional martial arts. At first glance, these monks seem clumsy, swaying, stumbling, and moving like they've had one too many. But it's all part of the technique. Drunken Masters are far from unskilled. Their unsteady movements are a calculated disguise, a way to confuse enemies, keep them guessing, and land strikes from angles no one expects. It's misdirection as a martial art. This fighting style was developed to mimic the chaotic staggering of a drunkard, but behind the performance is control, precision, and discipline. In combat, Drunken Masters weave through enemies, striking and then slipping away before anyone can catch them. Culturally, many Drunken Masters embrace the act. They play the fool in taverns, act silly in public, and use humor or humility to disarm suspicion. They're often just as much performers as they are fighters, keeping their true skill hidden until it's needed. Mechanically, the subclass focuses on mobility and control. Drunken Masters can redirect attacks, move freely through combat without provoking opportunity attacks, and unleash flurries of blows across multiple targets. What looks chaotic is actually highly efficient. And no, they don't actually need to drink to use their abilities. The Drunken style is just that, a style. Drunken Masters don't win by overpowering their opponents. They win by making them misstep, and misjudge until it's too late to recover. The Swarmkeeper is a ranger who doesn't walk the wilds alone. Instead, they're bonded to a swarm, not just of bugs or birds, but of nature spirits that take physical form. This swarm is their companion, their weapon, and their shield, acting as an extension of the ranger's will. In the Forgotten Realms, Swarmkeepers are often found in remote places like the Cloak Wood Forest on the Sword Coast. Some live as recluses, keeping their distance from civilization. Others act as strange guardians of their communities, using their swarm to protect the land or help those in need. The swarm itself can look like just about anything: a cloud of dragonflies, a tangle of glowing spores, flitting pixies, or even a miniature storm of leaves. But whatever form it takes, it responds to the ranger's thoughts and instincts. Mechanically, the Swarmkeeper is about tactical control. Their swarm can push or pull enemies, move the ranger across the battlefield, or deal extra damage. As they grow in power, the swarm becomes more versatile, able to restrain enemies, scout areas, or even phase the ranger out of reality for a moment to avoid harm. It's not the most damage-heavy ranger subclass, but it gives a lot of tools to shape the fight, especially for players who like planning and positioning. Swarmkeepers blur the line between the mundane and the mystical. They're not just hunters of the wild, they're conduits of something older, stranger, and deeply tied to the rhythm of the natural world. The Swashbuckler is a rogue who trades shadows for style. Where others rely on stealth and traps, the Swashbuckler uses speed, charm, and precision. They're dueling specialists, confident, flashy, and often the first to jump into combat with a grin. This subclass is inspired by classic pirates, duelists, and sword fighters. Think of someone swinging from ship rigging or exchanging witty insults mid-fight. That's the Swashbuckler. Culturally, many swashbucklers are drawn to adventure on the open sea, working as privateers, corsairs, or lone duelists for hire. They live by their own rules and are often guided more by personal code than strict morality. Mechanically, swashbucklers are all about mobility and one-on-one combat. They get to add their charisma to initiative rolls and can sneak attack without needing an ally nearby, as long as they're dueling someone one-on-one. They also gain the ability to move away from a creature they've attacked without provoking opportunity attacks. What this means in practice, swashbucklers dart in, strike hard, and then dance out of danger, all while keeping up a confident front. They're great for players who enjoy stylish, reactive play and a bit of flair at the table. They favor finesse weapons, often rapiers, and typically avoid heavy armor, relying instead on agility and charm. Swashbucklers aren't just about dealing damage, they're about doing it with presence. Quick feet, sharp blade, and always just the right amount of attitude. The Shadow Magic Sorcerer is someone whose power comes not from dragons or bloodlines, but from the Shadowfell itself. They might have ancestors who were touched by the darkness of that plane, or maybe they were transformed by a direct encounter with its twisted energy. Either way, their magic isn't warm or vibrant. It's cold, subtle, lingering. A shadow sorcerer doesn't glow with arcane light. They dim the room when they walk in. Their life force feels distant, like it's muffled beneath a layer of gloom. People might notice they don't bleed normally, or don't blink as often as they should. Some even forget they're alive at all. Culturally, shadow sorcerers are often seen as eerie, but incredibly effective. Many have found work as spies, infiltrators, or assassins, people who can vanish into the dark and strike without warning. Mechanically, the Shadow Magic subclass gives sorcerers excellent tools for survival and subterfuge. They get superior dark vision, the ability to cast darkness, and a passive feature that can help them avoid death when they hit 0 HP. Over time, they can teleport between shadows and even shift into an incorporeal form, allowing them to resist damage and move through solid objects, except when dealing with radiant energy, which still burns them. It's a subclass that blends arcane power with survival instincts, turning the sorcerer into something ghost-like, something the light never quite touches. Shadow sorcerers don't just cast spells, they haunt the battlefield. The Hexblade Warlock is a spellcaster who doesn't serve a demon, an archfey, or a Lovecraftian god, but something stranger. A weapon. Hexblades make their pact with a mysterious force from the Shadowfell, one that manifests as sentient magic weapons. These aren't just enchanted swords, they're alive, and they offer power to those who can wield them. The most famous of these is Blackrazor, a legendary sword that devours souls. But many Hexblades don't bind to a specific weapon. Instead, they draw on the same dark force that created such weapons, shaping the magic of shadow into their own chosen blade. Some sages believe the Raven Queen is behind it all, that the sentient weapons are her creations, and Hexblade Warlocks are her agents, influencing events from the shadows in ways no one fully understands. Unlike most Warlocks, Hexblades are trained in weapons and armor. They can wear medium armor, use shields, and wield martial weapons, and thanks to their pact, they don't need strength or dexterity to hit hard. Their charisma powers everything, their spells, their weapon strikes, even their sheer presence in battle. Mechanically, the Hexblade gains access to smite spells, control effects, and teleportation magic. They can curse enemies to boost damage, siphon health, or make a foe easier to hit. Their signature feature, Hexblade's Curse, turns them into a terrifying duelist, especially when combined with Pact of the Blade. They're not quite a fighter, not quite a wizard, but something in between. A warlock who walks into combat with a shadow-forged weapon, grinning, knowing that they're not alone, because the sword in their hand wants blood just as much as they do. Hexblades are charisma-fueled warriors, half warlock, half blade, all menace. The Bladesinger is a wizard who moves like a dancer and strikes like a swordmaster, a rare blend of grace, discipline, and deadly arcane power. This ancient elven tradition began among the Telquessir, especially the Moon Elves, as a sacred art that combined swordplay and spellcasting. To the elves, a Bladesinger is not just a warrior or a mage, they are a symbol of harmony between body and magic, a living testament to their cultural ideals of beauty, precision, and purpose. Bladesinging is passed down through a master-apprentice tradition. It's never written, only taught, preserving its secrets and ensuring it remains a living art. Each Bladesinger trains in a specific style, often tied to an animal or ancestral lineage, and may mark their dedication with traditional tattoos. In combat, Bladesingers fight with a single one-handed blade and cast spells with their offhand. But it doesn't look like casting. It looks like dancing. Their movements are fluid, elegant, and mesmerizing, a weaving of steel and spell that feels like poetry in motion. The defining feature of the Bladesinger is the Blade Song, a magical enhancement that boosts speed, defense, and agility. While active, the Bladesinger becomes incredibly hard to hit, able to dart across the battlefield and unleash arcane strikes while avoiding damage. Bladesingers emphasize defense and efficiency, not brute force. Their style is serene amid chaos, dodging blows, countering spells, and striking with exact precision. Advanced practitioners can link spell effects together in rapid succession, chaining attacks and magic like a symphony reaching its crescendo. Though originally elven, the Bladesinger tradition has spread. Non-elves now practice the art, honoring its legacy while expanding its expression. Yet, among the elves, Bladesingers still hold a place of deep reverence. Heroes, guardians, and exemplars of what it means to fight not just with strength, but with purpose. And that's a look at the rich D&D lore behind the 12 new subclasses coming in Patch 8 of Baldur's Gate 3. From ancient elven traditions to twisted pacts with shadowy forces, each subclass brings more than just mechanics. They bring story, flavor, and a whole new way to roleplay your next adventure. Which one are you most excited to try? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more Baldur's Gate 3 lore, builds, and breakdowns. Until next time, may your rolls be high and your subclasses even higher.